My name is David Cohen. I'm the CEO of IAB. Super excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about something that I haven't heard a peep about at CES, and that's Agentic AI. Why don't we start, Scott, with you. Introduce yourself,
Sure.
Who you are, what you work, where you work, and what you do.
Scott Ensign. I am the Chief Strategy Officer at Butler. We are an independent media agency focused a lot in regulated industries, so pharmaceutical advertising, financial services, alcoholic beverages, etc. And my remit there is really the offering, what we do for clients. And as a media agency, a lot of that is digital media, which leads into kind of automation and the future of digital media that we'll be talking about today.
Sarah?
Awesome, of course. Sarah Martinez, I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Tracer. Experian, thanks for having us. And Tracer is a collaborative analytics platform that turns fragmented data into a single, trusted, unified view, which obviously helps for collaboration across tools and AI models and teams to make sure that we have one strong data foundation.
I'm Stacey Bohr, Senior Vice President of Buyer Development at OpenX. OpenX has been around a long time. We're a supply-side platform. My job is to work with brands, agencies, and all buyers to make sure they're getting the cleanest supply and the best outcomes.
Budi Tanzi. I'm part of Experian Marketing Services. I have a two-part job, part product management, part solutions engineering. So I oversee our solutions support for our overall portfolio as well as do product management for identity and curation.
So we're going to start with some definitions, some level setting. We had predictive AI, which was probably a decade or more, which we've been using for a long time. Then we had generative AI, and now Agentic is the new kid on the block, the belle of the ball. Every conversation is around agents and what is that going to do to the ecosystem. Which of those three AI formats do you think represents the biggest opportunity for us in the media and marketing ecosystem? What gets you excited?
I mean, I think they all have implications, and we've been using, as you mentioned, predictive AI for a while. It's interesting to me as you lay that framework out, the short space between all of the hype around Gen AI and now all of the hype around Agentic seemed like a very fast follow, especially relative to predictive analytics.
Yes.
From the media side, which is where we sit and primarily what we do as an agency, we're very excited about Agentic. And I know it's the buzziest buzzword out there right now, but I just think it has so much opportunity to change the work that we do. And so we're very bullish on it. We've been very early and leaned in on testing a lot of things there because Butler Till is an employee-owned company, so our people are extraordinarily important to us. I know everyone says that, but for us, it's the structure of our agency through an ESOP, 100% employee-owned. So the future of what those people will be doing, our people will be doing, our employee owners will be doing, is really important to us. And I think Agentic is undeniably going to change that. We don't know exactly how yet, but figuring out that future and testing early is really important to us. So I would say that's the thing that we're most leaned into and excited about right now.
Got it. Okay, cool. Sarah, what about you?
I would say, so Gen AI, I would look at it as they're creating, recommendations and options for us, right? And Gen AI is acting and making decisions. And I think what I'm most excited about for our customers and putting the customer in the center of everything that we do is watching them shift because, the shift from speed to scale and then the shift to accountability and trust is here. And I'm really excited to see how they're all going to take part in that process because accountability with AI is really difficult unless you have a strong data foundation and trusted data that everyone is working off of. I'm excited about the shift, and I'm also excited about playing in both of those arenas.
So could you pick one modality or no? You're bullish on all?
I'm bullish on the fact that if the customer is going to be able to operationalize their data foundation in the right way, then they're going to have all the options in the world.
Got it. Political, excellent answer. Okay.
I worry I'm going to be political. I think with predictive, we are still just getting started. There are so many signals on the supply side that we are just starting to tap into. Mm-hmm. And I value objectivity. I still think of Agentic as there's room for trust to be built. So I understand the agent representing me. So am I excited about Agentic? Bullish. And we have a lot of work to do with AI that we're using every day.
Totally. Amen. Agreed. Budi, what about you?
If you don't mind, I'm going to take a second to define what those things mean for me.
We're in your house. You do what you want.
When I think of predictive, I think of the models, as you said, like statistical models, ML models that we've been using for a long time. predicting outcomes, and those outcomes, when they are within specific guardrails, they work very well, right? We kind of optimize them for long years. Generative, when we basically, create new content, whether it's image, text, video, they create insights for us, briefs, etc. We all know what that is. I think agentic is where I would like to kind of create an emphasis on, is because when I think of agentic, I think of autonomous or semi-autonomous systems. And those systems can actually take advantage of both predictive as well as generative AI systems. And I think there is maybe sometimes a misconception that agentic is only off of Gen AI or LLM based. I think there's needs to be this definition of what agentic is in general, where it can go beyond LLMs. It can also use predictive systems. It can use other systems that are not AI based. So in terms of answering your question of what excites me most, obviously it's agentic. It's because it can create that autonomous system across both predictive and Gen AI systems. And it can help us automate the decision to action process all the way from the signal to kind of coming up with recommendations and taking action, and create a fully rounded up solution.
Got it. You're taking us to school. I like that. That's good. What's the problem that AI is helping us with? And there's obviously lots of them, but give me a good use case.
Isn't it a symmetrical value exchange between the buyer and the seller, giving insight that otherwise you wouldn't have? So for example, when I got to the supply side, I developed empathy that I didn't have before for publishers, that they don't know how to value or contextualize the signals that they're getting. But when I talk to Scott, my favorite client, he wants the publisher to see the value. He wants journalism to thrive. So I feel agents can be a way to scale conversations and establish a true value exchange so that we can actually value each impression the way that we want to.
So knowledge symmetry. Okay, good. Anyone else?
I would add to that, first of all, if we're going to do a cold open for this, I want Stacy saying I'm her favorite client as the cold open to the panel.
And you're the favorite partner, of course. She's your favorite partner.
True.
Yes, of course. I think publishers can get more. I think part of the problem is too, if we're talking about the supply chain in particular, publishers don't have enough signal. And the signal that they have is really give me more cheap stuff, which I think is kind of what you're getting at. But it's not just the fact that the signal they're getting is wrong, but like it's just not there. And so I think that is definitely one thing that we could solve with all forms of AI and agentic in particular. But if I had to pick the problem that we're solving for, if I think of it from our customer perspective and the brands that we serve, it's really the promise of personalization and precision marketing that we've all been talking about for a while. I mean, certainly since programmatic, but even before that came to be a thing, we've been having this mantra of right message, right person, right time. And I think if we're honest with ourselves as an industry, we would say we have not gotten there or fulfilled on that. I mean, how many campaigns do we know are happening where there's maybe 12 personas, 100 different line items and tactics, and then basically one set of creative or two sets of creative? And I think when I think about agentic, if we can scale human reasoning in a way that this is exactly the impression that I would put in front of this person, this is exactly the message that I would put in front of this person. If I had the luxury of having a human being sitting and evaluating every impression at that level, what could we do? And so that's why I don't think about agentic in terms of like, what is it going to replace that we're doing today? I think about what is it going to make possible that we just have never been able to do before? And that's what's exciting to me.
I would just add too that I think some of the challenges we've been trying to solve for a long time is fragmentation. And AI is exposing more fragmentation in some ways, right? With that said, it's also helping us to answer questions a lot faster, to get to insights a lot faster, to understand at this speed, why did a consumer convert? And then really what's going to happen is marketers are going to say, well, what did we do and what happened to make that happen? And I wonder sometimes is how fast are we going to go where the marketer might say, but why? And we need to not forget about the why. And I think that piece of fragmentation we need to solve for so that we can make sure that they've got the insights out of the tools that they need.
Are creative agencies leaning in more heavily now than they ever have been before? Who's best suited to answer that? Is it still not where we need to be?
We definitely see more lean in from our creative partners and are more interested in exploring these things with us. one of the outcomes of Agentic and the real adoption of it is going to be closer proximity between media and creative. I think, certain
Repatriation, bringing them back?
I think so. Certain agency networks that we don't need to name have pulled those apart over time into separate groups, and I think that separation has largely been a feature, not a bug of the network system on the agency side. But I think there's no way to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish without, like you're saying, repatriating or bringing those things back together. And that could be, we do creative work today. I think our future is going to be more and more creative work using Gen AI, using Agentic. There's no way to really fulfill on the promise. And in fact, I think it's the separation of those two critical elements of marketing is one of the reasons why we haven't been able to fulfill on that promise. But I think with Agentic, in many cases, there's going to be no choice but to bring those things closer together.
Got it. What remains human forever? What remains sacrosanct, not touched by technology?
There's a few things, but I'll start with an example. AI is ultimately going to make mistakes, right? So when those mistakes happen, someone's going to have to fix the mistakes. Someone is going to have to prepare in advance to avoid the mistake, like red teams. Someone's going to have to go build and maintain relationships, think about strategy. So when I think about the things that will maintain human involvement are things like evaluating and assessing risk, building and maintaining relationships, building strategy and brand value. And ultimately, all of those things will help you figure out and differentiate yourself from the rest of the ecosystem, because at the end of the day, it's not just about understanding how to use generative AI, it's also, or artificial intelligence, it's also about perfecting emotional intelligence in addition to artificial intelligence.
Got it. One of the phrases that comes to mind is this next question is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Like, the opportunity that AI brings us is so massive that it freezes folks. It's like, I don't even know where to start. What is the low-hanging fruit in our collective opinion as to where do we start? What's the first thing that we should be doing?
I'll start with that. Just from the fact that Tracer is built to solve data foundation challenges, right? And I do think we have to all own the fact that the AI models are only as good as the data that it's sitting on top of. What I'm seeing with really large marketers is they're opening up their basement and actually admitting that they've got an infrastructure challenge, which is great. And the faster that they do that, the faster that I think they're going to be not only adopting it, but honestly leading in the industry with regards to innovation. It sounds, it's not as fun, but I really do think making sure that you have clean, structured data that is operationalized and used in a shared collaborative environment is going to be key to being step one.
Got it. So a quick, fast follow-up. If you look at vertical categories like that are kind of ripe for the picking, that are slower to adopt, what vertical category do you think is going to be front and center as we kind of scale AI across the ecosystem?
I think data-rich verticals.
Like, give me an example.
Performance, auto would be one.
Travel.
Insurance could be one. Yep. But those who use data to make their decisions objectively. Where I get hung up sometimes is the nuance of bias that could potentially go into an agent. By the way, I'm bullish on Agentic, and I want to build trust with my agent or my assistant the way I do with a human to understand why they're making the decisions that they're making and ensuring that it reports back to me how we got there. Because otherwise, I don't want to ever be in a position where we're trading efficiency for transparency either.
I think we talk a lot about, too, in this industry about speed, which is great. But I think, to some extent, it's really speed plus control. And, I do think the highly regulated industries, actually, we work with a Tracer from healthcare to financial services, they're actually taking a very thoughtful approach because they know that they need to be in control still. And so I think that balance of speed plus control is going to be a big part of how, different types of verticals with lots of data, great, but underlying, it's not going to matter. It's just really going to matter about, not just how fast you can get there, but how can you do it with control.
So we've spent 20 plus years defining, redefining, honing the programmatic ecosystem, right? I've been doing this for a long time. IB's been around for 30 years. We've been working on programmatic for a long time. The dynamic that I'm trying the industry to avoid is the us versus them, the this versus that. It's like we're not going to throw away, in my opinion, 30 years of work on programmatic standards, protocols, go-to-market with kind of the use of agentic or AI solutions. Where do you guys net out on that? Is it either or? Is it both? What does that look like?
I think it's both. So I think agentic augments programmatic. The reason for that is, I think, to your point, we don't need to throw away all the work that we have done. We just need to make it more automated and more autonomous, and agentic can help with that. I actually very much appreciate IAB Tech Lab's recent kind of post on how they're going to invest in making the existing systems agentifying the existing. Exactly. So, and if I were to use an analogy, the analogy I would use is programmatic is the engine and agentic is the navigation system.
I mean, I think that's exactly right. I think it's going to make it better. I think that's what the opportunity is. I mean, we could sit here and talk probably for hours about the challenges that despite the fact that we've been working on programmatic for decades, we could sit and talk about the challenges forever. And challenges that persist, thorny challenges, misaligned incentives, data latency, incompleteness, low match rates, like all of these things that have plagued our ability to, like I said before, fulfill on the real promise of programmatic, which was highly personalized, precise marketing. That promise is not going away. To me, this is just our ability to actually do the things that we've been talking about for so long.
Just to double click on that for a second, not to pick on you, but misaligned incentives don't go away in the world of AI. Misaligned incentives, bad actors, fraud, piracy, privacy, all these things pervade. They get kind of on steroids in some ways. Do you agree with that?
I agree that they, like any other technology, this can be used by those players to make that stuff worse. Okay. Yes, and it could result in a further arms race. But I'm hoping, I'm an optimistic person, I am hoping that we've learned from the last 20 years as an industry that we're not going to repeat those mistakes that we made
From
before.
your lips to God's ears.
Yes, right.
Anyone else on the programmatic agentic stuff? No? Okay. What is overhyped? We love the shiny penny. We love I don't know if I've seen the goo goo gaga-ness that we're seeing now for quite some time. Pick something. What's overhyped in the world of AI today? Anything overhyped in your world?
I think we're not spending enough time on, what we were talking about earlier. Fundamentals.
Agreed.
I just do. I think we're going to go really fast and have to take 3 steps back in certain areas, but I'm extraordinarily excited about it because I think there's a ton of opportunity for everybody in the future to have such an incredible, AI agentic moment for their brands.
Both on the IAB side and the Tech Lab side, we have a pretty robust agenda this year around AI. Transparency and disclosure. We're lobbying in Washington. Tech Lab just released a whole bunch of agentification programs on some of the standard protocols that we have. If you guys were to give any guidance to IAB, to Trade Association, what would you have us focus on? Where should we spend time?
I would say 2 things. We discussed today definitions, right? Getting on the same page around what something means, what it actually does is very important. I think IAB is in an excellent position to educate the industry.
Yeah.
Second thing is maybe a mix of responsible use of AI and best practices of AI. So when I think about that, there's a lot of ways in which we know certain decisions or certain tasks are better done with AI versus humans, and people need to be educated on that. We need to help companies be able to think about what red teams are, how to get ahead of problems, how to think about governance, how to think about preparing data for AI. How do you take certain elements from the equation to minimize your risk? Like all of those things I think are important best practices and knowledge that we need to all be trained on, and I think IAB is in a really good position for that.
I always find I have debates in IAB all the time. Let's do a 5-year plan. People tell me, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like we can't figure out 18 months out, let alone a 5-year plan. But let's look 12 to 24 months. What are we excited about, surprised about? Where's the greatest innovation? Whichever of those dimensions you like.
I'm excited to see large enterprise businesses collaborate more internally across teams. I think that it's going to really force the hand of all of the organizations having one shared data understanding and being able to make decisions a lot faster. And that collaboration across teams is going to unlock so much potential for marketers and brands and companies to, be innovative and, be ahead.
I hope that we're surprised at the consolidation that happens, and I'm not hoping for anything other than bad actors to go away with more insight and transparency. I'm hoping AI can be a catalyst to that.
I don't know how much of a surprise it will be from where we are now, but going back to the creative discussion that we had before,
Yeah.
I think the understanding use of AI to solve creative problems is going to be very, very advanced in 24 months. I think people will be used to seeing AI creative. I think that they will have a higher level of acceptance of it. I think, in fact, a lot of the hesitancy around AI creative is really coming more, not so much from the public and consumers, but much more from the people who are responsible today for creative. It is a solution, much like something like self-driving cars. It's just too good of a solution to not become widely adopted. And I think in 24 months, that's going to be far more advanced than people, I think, today would necessarily predict in our industry, especially.
I hope that
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
true.
Dynamic creative optimization will be something I think that's going to evolve significantly. Like today, we only think of them as like, if it's this cohort, show them this ad,
Yes.
whereas the AI models will be able to start changing what's being shown to the user over time. So I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Thank you very much for spending some time.
Thank
Enjoyed
you.
the conversation.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Experian.